Patrick Phillips is a 46-year-old poet who resides in Brooklyn, New York. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia, but was raised in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. His poems follow a thematic pattern of his poverty-stricken youth, contrasting with his current lifestyle as an accomplished poet and author. He often includes his family in his work, and those who inspire him to reflect on the harder times in his life. My Lovely Assistant by Patrick Phillips. After the episode of That's Incredible, in which a whole family of Armenians in sequin shirts ate fire and spewed blue, burning plumes, my brother tied a cotton ball to a bent coat hanger and dipped the end in gasoline. What made us who we are, one crazy, fearless, one always afraid. I stood by the ping-pong table in our mother's only sparkly dress, playing the role of Patricia Lovely Assistant because he was bigger than me, and a master of the headlock, and threatened with his breath of snot and bubblegum and cigarettes, a vicious wedgie if I didn't. So I handed him the silver Zippo, not knowing what future waited for my brother, still thinking I could save him, who hated being saved, who took my dare one night to lie on the yellow strip of Browns Bridge Road, and stayed there talking to himself, pointing to a satellite adrift among the stars while I begged him to get up. What sat in an upstairs bedroom, giggling at the click of our father's .38, who loved the sting of the torch sizzling his spit-glazed tongue. So I kept one eye on the door, knowing from experience how it would end, how all things turned finally to anger in that house, where he leaned back, shark-eyed, and took a swig from the red gas can, the spitting image of our father in a rage. He stood there between me and that pain. Knowingly, he raised the magic wand up to his lips. I sit and wonder what it means, my brother's sweet face bursting into flames. Although we can infer he grew up in poverty, it didn't stop him from achieving academic excellence. He earned his bachelor's degree from Tufts University, an MFA from the University of Maryland, and a PhD in English Renaissance Literature from New York University. His first published collection of poetry, Chattahoochee, won the 2005 Kate Tufts Discovery Award, as did his following collection, Boy.
And the main thing to me is just readers. I mean, the money was fantastic, and the weekend out here and getting to meet Alice Quinn and Robert Wrigley and all of those people, that's all fantastic, but it doesn't get more basic than, the prize gave me readers. And that's amazing, that feeling that somebody, and I guess I feel that way, and I feel a kind of both inspired and a kind of obligation to the people who gave the work this vote of confidence. I don't want to let them down. I want it to pan out. I want them to feel affirmed that they got it right early on, and that there is something there. So that's a kind of daily fuel for the fires, when you can say, wow, okay, so I want this. I want to really get this right, because I would like Alice to see it someday, and I would like Robert Pinsky and Wrigley and Carol Muskie Dukes. I'd like them to pick this up. I felt celebrated by the people who came, and I felt that it had been about the work and that they had read the book, and that's just rare.
Other notable works include Elegy for a Broken Machine, which was nominated for the National Book Award in Poetry, and Blood at the Root, a recently published novel about the racial divide in Phillips' hometown. The New York Times commented that it meticulously and elegantly reveals the power of white supremacy to distort and destroy not only the lives and accomplishments, but historical memory, the law, and basic human civility. Phillips is also known for his work in translating When We Leave Each Other by the Danish writer Heinrich Nordbrand. Dr. Phillips' awards speak volumes about him as a writer, and one interview question from the New York Times elaborates on his inspiration to create his award-winning literature. When asked about whose books are generally shelved around his and Bookspores, he responded, Carl Phillips, a former teacher of his, and Sylvia Plath, of whom he is a big fan. Their brevity, short lines, and flip-flopping between macabre and lighthearted subjects are concurrent between all three authors.
I almost never say, someone says, what do you do? I rarely say I'm a poet, because it sort of sounds pretentious, and often will lead to people reciting a Shel Silverstein poem, which is fine, which I love, but I usually say I'm a teacher. And I think they've heard me say that, they would probably say our dad's a teacher. Interestingly enough, even as we speak, the youngest, or the oldest, Sydney, is doing the ELA, the big statewide ELA test at school. So we spent a lot of yesterday getting him ready for this and talking about writing, and I ended up talking with him about a lot of the things I teach when I teach English 9 at Drew, about how to outline, how to take notes, how to begin and wrap up, an essay, effectively a sort of fourth grade version of an essay. When recently had the good fortune to win the Guggenheim, they overheard my wife and I celebrating this, and they kept asking that it had something to do with that big museum that they'd gone on field trips to, the Guggenheim Museum on Fifth Avenue. So I needed to explain that in a way, yes, sort of, but they thought that I was going to kind of go get a trophy over at the cool museum.
What drew me to poetry in the first place was the sense that there was the world as you experience it, the world of your family, the world of your work, of your everyday life, and that there's something under the surface going on too inside everybody, and that kind of unknowable quality to other people, including your parents and your siblings, and that everyone has a whole inner life that it's very, very difficult to know about it and know what is happening inside another human being. And that's what I'm most interested in, and I think I'm drawn to those kind of moments of crisis in a way because that's when the underbelly shows through. Those are the moments when you can see it. Matinee. After the biopsy, after the bone scan, after the consult and the crying, for a few hours no one could find them, not even my sister, because it turns out they'd gone to the movies. Something tragic was playing, something epic. And so they went to the comedy with their popcorn and their Cokes. The old wife whispering everything twice. The old husband cupping a palm to his ear as the late sun lit up an orchard behind the strip mall, and they sat in the dark holding hands.